Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the witnesses. I was on the ground when Harvey struck. It was horrific. But I must say, I commend FEMA for the good work you did, pre-positioning assets, getting an advanced emergency declaration, and we saved a lot of lives. You know, probably 20,000 lives in that effort, and it was commendable, and it was a joint effort. My state operations center, the National Guard, to the Coast Guard, to FEMA, I would give it an A+. I think a lot of the frustration in my state and others is and I will admit it's not really under your jurisdiction, has been the recovery. Now, you have the short-term housing, but a year ago, I remember working with my leadership to get a $60 billion package passed by Congress. And we did it in fairly short order after this disaster. We just passed another declaration, disaster, as you know, and Senator Cornyn and myself put a provision to expedite this money that's been held up at HUD for a year. $4 billion to my state. Recognizing that's not completely within your lane of jurisdiction, but you know, how can we take a more whole of government approach? So they are a partner, I think, in this effort. You're short term, they're long term. What can we do differently to stop this kind of, this is what drives people crazy, is when Congress acts, and particularly members who got this done, and then a year later it's still being held up in the process.
Yes, sir. I don't want to speak for my counterparts at HUD. What I can tell you is that we have a close partnership with HUD on many different matters. I can't disagree that it probably takes too long. And so whether you're from Texas or North Carolina or you're from Puerto Rico, you know, as an elected leader, you want to be able to deliver all the resources that the federal government can muster in the shortest amount of time. And I think that is our goal. You know, obviously we have work to do. Like I stated before, 16 other federal agencies with, you know, in excess of 90 different federal disaster programs that you need to blend. It is a major undertaking. And it's a major undertaking not only for a big state like Texas, but you can imagine it's a major undertaking for small states that don't have that built-in bandwidth to manage, you know.
I agree. You know, like, Texas is ready. I think Puerto Rico is caught in a different situation.
Can I say something real quick about that?
And I got limited time, but go ahead.
Okay. On the HUD, the CDBG issue, we just issued a report this year, and we had a matter for Congress that Congress needs to permanently authorize a program such as CDBG, because it's not permanently authorized. So every time it's appropriated funds in the supplementals, which it has been over 10 years, basically the program is created from scratch. There's a regulatory process, you know how long that takes. So you have to spend a year or two creating the program each time to begin figuring out how you're going to have to use the funds.
I think that's an excellent recommendation, and I was going to go to you for maybe solutions that the chairman and ranking member can look at to make it more whole of government rather than siloed off with all these agencies. The last one I got a little time is the Army Corps. You know, 1940s, they identified Barker and Addicks. They built reservoirs, but they identified Cypress Creek, and they were going to build a levee wall or maybe a reservoir, and they never did that. And so what happened was that it basically had a watershed event where it went down from Cypress to Barker to Addicks, Buffalo Bayou, downtown Houston. Just a complete disaster that could have been prevented with proper flood mitigation projects. This thing is still being held up. It takes years to study before they can even build. And again, it's the same frustration my constituents have. What's going to happen as we go into hurricane season? Are we going to have this watershed event again? And so I know, again, Army Corps is not, but the whole government approach, and maybe the GAO can look at ways that we can fix this so it doesn't take so long.
Yeah, well, we have actually, and that scenario is a perfect example of what's so difficult about mitigation and resilience dollars. It's so difficult in the present day to give the funding you need to prevent future damage. It's just human nature. But there are ways, like FEMA now has the ability to coordinate its funding with Army Corps funding to build levees. It used to be that that funding only had to be provided to Army Corps. And so what happened was there were thousands of projects across the country, they were never fully funded. And so the scenario you mentioned, those are all over the country. There's levee projects that have never been funded.
Well, this one's funded, and I look forward to following maybe up with the two of you and Army Corps about how we can move the process a little faster in addition to HUD. And thank you, Mr. Chairman.